Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Passions Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the soap opera Passions. I'm your regular host, LeTara, back again with Dr. Eric Vera.
Hello. It's always so good to be here. And to our listeners, I have some solid advice for you from this week. It's that never go up against a girl who can tell a tree what to do and the tree will listen to her.
Yeah, we Simone says that this week because Charity's the tree whisperer.
Yeah.
Apparently, she can tell,
Uh-huh.
she can give trees directions.
Yeah.
So we are definitely going to get into that this week. It was so fun. This is a great week. We did
Oh, yeah.
591 through 595. We're uh getting into 600, so things are kind of revving up, and it was a great week for
Very good.
Ivy. It was a great week.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So before we get into the episode, let me give a quick shout out to all our patrons over on Patreon. Thank you to Munashe, Marcus, Breland, Lisa, Sid, Sarana, Randall, Hannah, Camelia, Samantha, Jeanette, Eric, Fantasia, Sean, S, Larissa, Maria, George Lopez Fitzgerald, Lisa, Jessica Jean, Laura, Karen, Uche, and Justin. Thank you all so very much for being patrons. Remember, if you out there in podcast land would like to become a patron of the Passions Podcast, just go over to passionspodcast.com patreon.com/passions podcast and sign up for any tier you find agreeable. I mean, you can go to passionspodcast.com too and get there through the podcast and through the website, because it is still up. I'm still paying for it, so please use the website. But yeah, let's get into this week. It's gonna be a long one, y'all. Y'all might as well strap in, because I got a lot to say about my not so lovable lunatic this week.
I was about to say, I was going to point out, listeners, LeTara's on theme. Lovable Lunatic merch is there as well. But also you have a locket that I would assume has your former lover, Sam Bennett, and your son, Ethan.
No, it's just my little 8-year-old niece. Oh, the picture fell out. Oh, no.
More
Okay.
fitting. More fitting.
I fixed it. It's my little... Oh, it fell out again. Okay.
But I thought that was a good matchup. You have a little Ivy and a little Teresa together
a little
today.
Ivy and a little Teresa. But yeah, let me put this back in here. That fell right out. Okay. Um, but we're not gonna go right to Teresa yet, y'all. You know how it works over here. We're not jumping right into the meat. We're gonna start in Bermuda.
Yep.
Aruba, Jamaica. Ooh, I wanna take you
Take
to
ya.
Bahama.
Bahama.
Come on, Diana. Okay, so y'all, Sheridan or Diana, whatever y'all want to call her, she is sitting down. She can recall the death of her love, and she's thinking about this man that she had this great love with, and that he is dead. She just remembers holding his lifeless body in her hands and her arms.
Yeah.
She says she can see his voice, see his face, she can hear his voice, but she just can't figure out his name. Brian then tells her, like, she's talking to Brian, she's bearing her soul to him. She's being extremely, like, vulnerable, going through these, like, big emotions, and he tells her, stop dwelling on the past, focus on the future.
And what is her main objective right now? Trying to remember.
Yeah. He says,
What a dick.
stop dwelling on the past, focus on the future. And then she says, what future? I have no one and nothing. And he says, yes, you do. You have me. Yeah. The fact that he's telling her to stop dwelling on the past is very irritating. It's like, I'm not dwelling on the past. I'm trying to put the pieces together of my past. I don't remember how can I dwell on something I don't remember?
Exactly. It's so frustrating. This is just the beginning, because he keeps trying to gonna separate her from her non-existent past. I mean, she has nothing, and so he's even hell-bent on just making sure she doesn't remember a single thing.
This is just the beginning, because later so they're like having this conversation. He tells her, don't dwell on the past. You have a future here. You have somebody, you have me. Which doesn't make a person who really has nothing and no one, it doesn't make them feel better. I don't know you. You're a stranger to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's nice that you're here and you're being nice-ish to me, but, like, I don't know you, sir.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me feel better. that you're
I
here.
yeah, when I think about this, I sit there and I'm like, do I remember if I liked him or not? I think I was really indifferent with him the first time around. This time, I'm getting very annoyed by him very, very quickly. And yes, please feel free. You've said it
I
before. You can say it again.
I cannot stand this man.
Yeah.
I can't stand the grass he walks on. I I don't like him one bit because then later he and Diana are like going back to her room or back into the hotel and he says, "Diana, I have to ask you, do you believe in love at first sight?" Shut up. Shut up. How old are you? Grow up, number 1. Number 2, he says, "Do you believe in love at first sight?" And she says, "I don't know. I've never heard about it happening. I don't know if I believe in it." He says, "Well, it's true because it happened to me. Diana, I love you." And then he kisses her. He
Yeah.
says he loves her and then he kisses her. And she starts to kiss him back. And then she pushes him off and says, "You know what? I'm so sorry. I should not have let you kiss me. I felt like you were the man that I loved for a moment there. I thought you were like the man that I've been thinking of."
Yeah.
And he very flippantly is like, he's obviously annoyed and very flippantly is like, the man you say you once loved, you said he was dead. Why did he say it like that?
I
You
know.
said he was dead. So that means you get to kiss me? And I'm supposed to be okay with it because he's dead, allegedly. I don't know. She doesn't really know that he's dead. She just has had that one memory, but it's out of context.
Again, and it's the moment where they were locked up in the Crane archives and they were running out of air. Or no, he got shocked, right? I think
Yeah.
that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's remembering that, but also I'm like, again, I don't know the rules of passions and amnesia, but like, she just jumps to that conclusion right away. It's like, well, you didn't see a funeral montage. I mean, like, you don't know,
You don't know.
but I
She
can't
doesn't
blame
know.
her for not knowing anything. I mean, I guess I would jump to that conclusion as well, but
Yeah. Well, he says, "You said he was dead." Diana's like, "I know it would take a miracle for him to come back to life or to bring him back to me, but I love him and the love I have for him will never die. It is so deep inside of me that it will last forever." Okay, go. That's Sheridan talking. That ain't
yeah,
Diana.
it really is. Yeah,
And
great point.
I loved that. She was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I have this feeling of love that I don't feel for you, and you're saying you love me." And she keeps saying to him, "You don't love me. We just met." She says that
Oh,
again. That's Sheridan talking.
yeah, and she does that for a while. I don't know if we talked about the rose bushes, or if we're there yet, but she'll bring
We
up another thing.
we had talked about the roses like last week or the week
Okay,
before.
got it. Yeah, she put him in the friend zone basically. She's like, I appreciate your friendship so much, so that's done.
Mm-hmm. And then Brian he keeps telling her that he loves her, even though she keeps protesting against it. And she says, "We just met. There's no way you love me." And she says, "You just feel sorry for me. And you saved me physically, and now you're trying to save me emotionally because you see
Yeah.
how upset I am about the man that I once loved, or the man that I do love, who has, I believe, has died. And you just feel sorry for me." He just keeps telling her he loves her,
Yeah.
and she keeps telling him to stop.
Yeah.
She keeps saying, "Please," basically saying, "Please stop. Don't tell me you love me." Like that. And he won't, because he's selfish and self-centered, and he only cares about what he wants.
He is taking the Steve Urkel approach where I'm wearing you down. I mean, that's what he's gonna do. He's gonna wear her down.
But at least Steve Urkel was a child, right? Like, at least Steve Urkel was a child with a crush. And
Yeah.
but and he did eventually wear Laura down,
Yeah.
but and I know Brian will eventually kind of wear Diana down, but
Who was
that's
expecting a
spoiler
Family
alert.
Matters reference in today's episode? Not me, but that's
You
where my
gotta
brain went.
you gotta always be ready for any reference. Our brains, we have such like both. I think you and I both have such like pop culture
Yeah.
minds. Like we love TV and film and like
Yeah.
pop culture in general. So yeah, I can make a reference to 1,000 different things. I think
Yeah.
things all the time that I just like keep to myself and like nobody's gonna get that.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna laugh but me.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, I'm wearing you down.
Mhm.
That's what Brian's trying to do.
Yeah.
He's quite literally love bombing her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she does not like it, which most people don't. But
And
anyway.
yeah, because she even says, "You can't love me like this. I know what true love is, and I will never feel that again." That is a
Mm,
powerful statement to, again, remind Brian, you're in the friend zone, man. Like this, this that I remember, the one memory that I have and that you can't take away from me is how much this dude loved me and I loved him.
yep. And yes, she says what you just said. It was very powerful. And then she starts to cry. And he says, "Don't cry, Diana." And he hugs her, and they have a moment. Yeah. Don't cry for Louise, Diana. I see Evita behind you, and I've been thinking it since.
Yeah. Well, I went with, I was like, what is some epic divas for this episode that features some outrageous, outstanding diva performances? So I went with those two, Evita and Dreamgirls.
Dreamgirls is great I feel like for Teresa. We're
Yeah.
your dream girls.
Ethan is supposed to love me. Bam, bam,
Dun, da,
ba.
da, da. Ethan was supposed to love me. There you are, Teresa. I've been looking all over. I turn my back and find myself out on the line. Don't get me started. I can do that whole scene. I can do the
Oh
entire
yeah.
scene. I can do the whole thing. It's so
Yeah.
fucking good. You could have warned me, but that would have been too kind.
And then Ivy
Ivy.
comes in saying,
Yeah.
"Who you calling common? Self-indulgent, self-absorbing, not professional."
You slut. No, that's Ivy. Ivy called her a slut so many
Oh, I
times
know.
this week.
See
Okay,
how
okay.
I know we're so excited to get over there. Shawise.
Let's get through these fucking people. Okay, because my notes eventually just get to I don't care, I don't care,
Yeah,
I don't
I
care.
agree.
Like at a certain point, and we're almost there. So Brian hugs Diana because she's crying, and then he takes her up to Lover's Leap. And I thought, and then when they get up there, okay, so the Lover's Leap is like this hill that kind of overlooks the rest of the island, and it's like a cliff, and the ocean is there, right?
And there's
And
lore. There's lore,
there,
just like frickin' Warlock Island with cousins. They have lore
yes,
here too.
there's lore. So they go for this walk, which is supposed to be making her feel better. And then he tells her this story. He says, yes, this is Lover's Leap. It's called that because some woman jumped from here to her death after finding out that her lover was lost at sea. How the fuck is that supposed to help her feel better about the fact that the guy that she loves is presumably dead and that she was lost at sea? How is this supposed to make her feel better?
It won't.
Why would
It
he think this
doesn't.
would
Yeah.
help? I don't know. Anyway, I wrote LOL. She nearly falls off the cliff.
Of course.
Because I cracked up.
Oh, I
She
did
okay.
too.
So then they're like standing on the overlook, and she has on this little chiffon scarf, and the wind kind of carries it away, and she, without thinking, tries to grab it, and she loses her footing, and she goes over the edge of this cliff. Well, of course, Brian catches her, pulls her back up. It was just a moment to mirror all of the times that Luis has saved her. Now we're trying to kind of keep score with how many
Yeah.
times Brian has saved her too, right?
Brian is got two now, but there's probably no way. What is happening?
You did this and the balloons came up. What the hell?
Talk about bloopers. What
Mine doesn't
in
do that.
fucking play the Tabitha Cookie music. This is weird. That is bizarre. So weird.
Okay, what were you saying?
What the fuck? Okay, that is a blooper. Cut that out.
Hilarious. Yeah, I'm leaving it in. It was hilarious.
Well, now I'm totally distracted by fucking balloons. Maybe balloons came up off the cliffs. I was gonna say there is a very like the good son moment there with Elijah Wood and Macaulay Culkin. It's just really she's holding on to the cliff. And yet, what I was saying was, he's got two saving of Sheridan's lives or Diana's life, whereas he's got a lot more room to make up because Luis, I'm sure, has him beat still.
Yeah, Louise has saved her life several
Yeah.
times. Okay, so Yeah, she almost falls off the cliff. It was stupid. Whatever. He said, and then he says, "I don't know what I would have done if you had fallen." I don't know. You move on with your life. We haven't known each other that long. I think you'll be okay. Oh no, I'm
He's so
sorry.
insensitive. Yeah.
I don't know. He's just like, I don't know what I would do. He's just so over. It's
Yeah.
it's over the top.
Yeah.
It's too much too soon. But anyway, meanwhile, Luis has shown up to this island. And they have so many near misses. And let me tell y'all, I looked it up because I was like, how long are they gonna subject me to this bullshit? I looked it up because I was like, I know it takes a while for Sheridan to
Yeah.
get her memories back. It's going to take almost a full year from the
Yep.
point where we are until. So at no point are they. I'm just not doing it. Every time they have a near miss, I'm not even gonna fucking talk about it. I'm just be like, they missed each other a fucking again. I'm sick
I
of
was
it.
gonna say, if you want to make it even remotely entertaining, take a shot every time it happens. But if
Mm.
you do it regularly, you may pass from alcohol poisoning. It's just that much.
Yeah, you're gonna get cirrhosis of the liver
Yeah.
because it's so often. Yes, Luis shows up and we get multiple instances where he literally just walks right past where Sheridan is.
Yeah.
He goes into her room at one point, mistaking it for room 9 because her room is room 6 and the 6 has fallen. And so it looks like a 9. He leaves their picture on the nightstand, all of these different things. None of it comes to fruition. None of
Yeah.
it, nothing comes of any of it. And it's
Nothing.
extremely frustrating. Like I don't know. It's just very frustrating.
I did think that the writers were sending us subliminal messages about the numbers 6 and 9. They complete each other, and then I started going about. I'm just being a child and talking about the word 69.
Yeah, that's where I'm
Okay.
going.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. Ooh,
But
69.
then Liz also calls Luis 9 to just again give us more, yeah, more ambiguity, to really just confuse us and just be like, will they meet each other? No,
This is
because they
such
can't even ask for his name.
it's such bullshit because she says, "Oh, hey, number 9," Liz says. "Oh, hey, number 9." And he goes, "Oh, actually, my name is," she's like, "Don't even bother telling me your name. I'm not going to remember it." Girl, what the fuck kind of business are you running? Like, what kind of hotel doesn't tells the guests, like, "Don't tell me your name. I'm not going to bother learning your name." When I worked at hotels, it was like a big deal for us to like greet guests by name.
Yeah,
Mr. Jones, Miss
yeah,
Johnson. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's so annoying. So, cause she could call him Luis the same way
yeah,
she's been calling Diana,
yeah.
but yeah, that was so dumb. The whole thing was so
And then
stupid.
it's another thing about this too, because Louise, much like Rose from Titanic, travels with framed pictures of Sheridan, and Liz sees it and is like, "Hey, is that a picture of your person?" And they still manage to not expose the photo that would say that Sheridan is in fact Diana.
Yeah, no, it was all very stupid. By that point in the week, I was just like, okay, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
She's not gonna see it. Of course, she's not gonna see it. Because again, I had already looked up. That shit doesn't come out until like August 2022, and we are in October 2021. So you're not gonna get me, Passions. Not this time.
yeah.
Although Passions got me once this week, and we will talk about it.
Oh, okay.
They
Yeah,
got me good. They actually got me good. Okay, so yes, they keep having near misses. At one point, Luis goes up to Lover's Leap because Liz tells him, if you want to get a view of the island, that's the best place to go. So he goes up there. Of course, he just missed Sheridan and Brian. But then he sees this chiffon scarf that is wrapped around like a branch that is jutting out over this cliff. And he risks his life to get it. And he's like, I don't know why I'm risking my
yeah.
life to
He
get
even
this
I
scarf.
love that he said it out loud too.
Me too. Me too. Because if he hadn't said that, like that something was kind of compelling him to do that, then I would just be like, what the fuck? Why is he why are you risking your life for this? this cheap ass chiffon ass scarf, you know. Anyway, so he does manage to get it. He almost falls too, but he pulls
Yeah.
himself back up, and then he smells it, and he says it smells like Sheridan. You
Yeah.
know, could have been going somewhere with this, but we weren't.
Again, I don't want to be so like just so cynic and so mean that I'm like, you know what? I believe in signs. I really do. I believe that I believe in our intuition, like something telling us that something's happening. But and when passion just beats us over the head with it. I mean, like Sheridan looking up at the air and seeing a plane and going, maybe someone on there knows who I am. I mean, like, yes, but like someone at St. Lisa's who's eating, who they said a young man just got here might know you too. So it's just again, I don't want to sound so mean and stuff, but at the same point, passion just beats you over the head with it too much. Now I'm scared
You
to do
don't.
hand gestures.
It's not. No, I don't think that sounds mean. I think, yeah, I mean, Passions is mean to us by doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was mean. Like, this whole thing was so mean and nasty.
Yeah.
So rude and so nasty. So, yeah, he gets the scarf. He smells it. He thinks it smells like Sheridan. This was one that I actually liked.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
could, like you said they did it. They beat us over the head with it. It happens so much. There's a lot of like these
I
kind
got a
of
strange
callbacks
feeling.
to.
I have an intuition, all that stuff. Yeah.
However, this was one they could have peppered just 2 or 3 in, and I would have been like, this is
Yes.
right. But the fact that they had the scarf was a good one
Yeah, because
because
it would have her scent, her aroma on there. Yeah.
and that olfactory memories are so
Mm-hmm.
strong. Like when you smell something and it can just I'm
It
gonna tell
takes you
a
back.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell a quick little tangent story one time about olfactory memory. My granny, my mom's mom, used to buy the orange dial soap, the gold bars. You
Uh-huh.
know those. That's the only soap she ever used, and it has a very specific smell. A smell that I like. Well, it happened to be like on sale one day at the store, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get these. I'm gonna get these gold bars. Granny used to get these all the time. Da, da, da. And I always get the white ones. And because for those of you out there who are being judgmental about me using bar soap, I use both bar soap and body wash because
Yeah.
I double wash. But anyway,
Yeah.
um, I bought the gold bars. I got in the shower one day and I was like, I opened it and I immediately like started smelling it. And my granny has passed. She's been gone for
Yeah.
a good long time now. I was in high school when she passed away. And when I say I was in the bathroom, in the shower, sobbing, and like it was like because at first it was like really nostalgic, but then it was like, oh my god, and it was just so overwhelming. The smell was so overwhelming that like I had to throw the entire pack of soap out. I threw it away. I was
Yeah.
like, there's no way. I'm not gonna be able to function.
Yeah.
I need to shower every day. I'm not gonna be able to function if I use these bars.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that smell, and when it is connected to like a loss, it's strong,
Yeah.
it's deep. So I did like that they did that. But he was like, "What am I thinking? Sheridan's not here. I don't know whose this is, but I'll wrap it right here, and maybe they'll come back and find it." Well, of course, lo and behold, Sheridan's like, "Oh my goodness, I dropped my scarf. I don't know where I would have dropped it, except bitch." You know exactly what happened to your scarf. It flew off and you tried to catch it and you fell off the cliff.
Yeah.
So what wouldn't you I would assume the scarf went off into the ocean somewhere. But she went back looking for her scarf because we were meant to be under the impression that she believed that she had dropped it along the path somewhere.
Yeah.
So she gets back to like the cliff, the lover's leap, and she sees it wrapped around the tree. She's like, I wonder who could have done this. And she whatever. Yada yada yada. More close calls, back and forth. I don't
Yeah.
care.
It's frustrating. And that's all it is. It's just really frustrating.
I don't care. Liz comes and invites him to dinner, talks to Diana. Well, Diana actually says that they should invite him to dinner after Liz comes and tells her after Liz comes and tells her and Brian that the new guest had lost his fiance and that he was a sad guy and maybe they should, do something to cheer him up. And Diana's like, why don't we invite him to dinner with us? Because
Yeah.
Brian has like set this really nice romantic dinner for he and Sheridan. And he's like cooked, I guess. And he wore a suit. It's a big deal for him.
But also, I appreciated this in that it gave me some insight into Liz and Brian. Um, he was awful to her. Like
Nasty.
he's a straight up user, like used Liz, and Liz still loves him. And like when she says something like, "I couldn't get you in a suit like this," she's like, "I'd be impressed if you put on like a clean shirt or something." And it just really irked me because I'm like,
Liz,
this, yeah,
Liz needs to evict his ass.
yeah,
Toot sweet. Evict his ass immediately. Immediately. I'll be
yeah,
like, Diana, you can stay, but Brian, you gotta go. I'm sick of you.
yeah.
You
Brian,
you ain't paying
go
your
room with
bills.
Doc over there in the aliens.
Yeah, yeah. So, yes, Brian is a little upset because they have now invited Liz, or Diane has now invited Liz and Luis, which they don't know his name is Luis. They're calling him number 9, to dinner. And Liz goes to tell him, and he is not into the idea at first. Luis is, and he's like, "Oh, I already told you, I'm not really. I don't need company." But she manages to convince him. This is another near miss. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I imagine they're not. Not that I imagine. I know for a fact they're not going to see each other.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care until I will not care until August 2022. I'm gonna tell y'all right now.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna give a fuck about this storyline until August 2022.
Yeah.
Um.
What will make
So
that storyline it's like the Liz part of it. It's like we're slowly going to learn more about Liz and more about Brian as well, but like that's going to be the thing that like there's something else going on here. But we
yeah,
don't get that for a good long while either.
yeah. It's only good when once we start seeing what their harmony connections are.
Yes.
And that becomes more interesting. But even then, it's still we learn what the connections are, but like Sheridan still doesn't know or understand for
Yeah.
a
And
long time.
I think that's what it is too. It's this idea to give us time for Luis to move on and time for us as audience members to try to accept that Brian and Diana will be a couple.
And this is why Fantasia, one of our patrons on Patreon, Fantasia,
Yeah.
this is the part. Hey, girl, shout out to Fantasia. This is
Yeah.
the part where she started the show, which is why she's Team Beth, because she started after Luis had like gotten over Sheridan,
Yeah.
and so she comes in and she thinks she's from her perspective. Sheridan is coming in to steal Beth's
Yeah.
man, but nah, girl, we got
But
3 years in. We
but
got 3 years in the game with
but
Sheridan and Louise.
and isn't that fascinating? It's like when you talk about like friend dynamics and like you've been friends with somebody for a really long time, then a new friend shows up. They have a different perspective of what happened. If you meet a couple at a very specific time in their relationship, you're gonna root for somebody else. And you know what? I love Beth the character, but I like what's gonna happen eventually. But I mean, I'm always gonna want Luis to be with Sheridan. I mean, like
Yeah,
I'm a loyalist to Shuis.
I like Beth as part of the story, if that
Yes,
makes
yes.
sense. But Beth, but you
Yeah.
know what? You know what? I'm gonna reserve. I'm gonna pull it back a little bit because, and we're going to get into the Teresa stuff. But I will say, this week as I was watching Teresa's crazy ass unravel, I thought to myself, oh no.
I know.
I thought to myself, oh no, could I have been wrong? Do I not
Oh,
actually love her?
I have. We're gonna get there. I like that we keep teasing the episode that we're in.
Yeah.
like, like we're gonna get there. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be hot topics, full on The View in just a little bit.
We're gonna get there soon because honey, we're about to blast through
Yes.
these troubled marriages and magic. Okay. David is spying on Sam and Grace. He's got some long range camera lens. It's like long
And
as hell.
like a
Even though he's right
radar or
next door.
yeah, like a
It
sound thing as well.
Yeah, like a
Listening device.
sonar sound
Yeah.
listening device, spy gear. He's got
Which
spy
again,
gear.
just by the way, I want to let you know he does not show up for a good long while. Like we don't get Sam and Grace for a long while. But when he showed up, I was like, damn it, I really. I was like, oh good, I don't have to worry about that storyline. And then they shoved him in at the end of the week.
I will say I was glad that we hadn't seen any of them really,
Me
and
too.
then when they did show up, it was like episode like 4 out of 5 in a
Yeah.
week, and I was like, all right, well, fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you though, because I don't care about this at
Yeah.
all. He's spying on Sam and Grace. Grace gives Sam a gift. It's a baseball signed by some sports person. I didn't
Yeah.
write it down because I don't care.
I
And
tried to and I didn't hear it, and then I was like, nah, it's a
it's not
baseball
worth
signed
exactly. It's not worth going back.
signed
Grace
by B.
then
Arthur.
unlikely, but that would be I would be more interested. I would be more interested if it was signed by B. Arthur than by like
Whoever they
some
said. 'Cause
baseball
yeah.
person. I don't you know what's crazy? I know like do I even know 3 baseball players? Could I name 3 of all through all of time since baseball began? I can
Yeah.
maybe name 3. Babe Ruth,
There's one. That's the one that everyone should know.
Mickey Rooney. No, Mickey Rooney is not. No, Mickey Rooney was in Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
Yes. You think Mickey Mantle.
Mickey Mantle.
And the only reason I know that is because that is George Costanza's favorite player, and he wore the number 7.
Not Mickey Rooney.
Mickey Rooney was a famous baseball player. Look at the knowledge that we are giving to the listeners.
Derek Jeter.
There you go.
Barry Bonds.
Ta-da!
I think that's all the baseball players I could not name a baseball player. So anyway, I don't know. I said all that to say I want y'all to know something about me, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And the ones I know are Gina Davis, Rosie
Yes.
O'Donnell, Madonna.
We're the ladies of the All-American Squad. We come from cities near and far. We've got Canadians. I used to love A League of Their Own. I used to love
great
that
one.
movie. Did you watch the show? I heard the show was good, but it got canceled.
I
so
did
never
hear it
watched
was yeah, but I think it got canceled already, so that's the only reason I didn't make the investment.
That's what I said. It got
Yeah.
canceled, so I never watched it.
Yeah.
But I heard it was really good. Anyway, let's baseball. This girl gave her husband a baseball signed by somebody. Grace then tells Sam that she wants to go away for a couple of days, and he's like, you know what? That's a great idea. And she says, yes, let's go tonight to the lodge where we had our second honeymoon, where Ivy drugged me and tried to seduce you by coming into our room ass naked and trying to have sex with you on top of my lifeless body. I don't know what Grace was thinking.
This was I just put in all caps. Why would you go back there?
And Sam
Why?
says as much.
Yeah.
He's like, well, isn't that? And she's like, yeah, but I just think this would be a good way for us to put Ivy behind us. Girl, how?
If I were Sam, I
How?
would have been like, sweetheart, do you have amnesia? Do you not remember what happened there? See what I did there?
The thing is, Grace doesn't actually remember what happens there because she was drugged.
Oh, God. Well, but she knows enough to know that Ivy tried to seduce Sam there. Why would you go back there?
And you know what? I want everybody to remember that Ivy drugged Grace. Do not ever forget that Ivy drugged Grace. Because as high and mighty as she likes to try and act with Theresa and talking about she's a liar, she's a schemer and all of this shit, which she is, don't get me wrong. But Theresa, sincerely, most of the time, her intentions truly are pure. Like, I really just don't want Ethan to be mad at me. Like, really. Really. But Ivy was like ready to was actively trying to tear Sam's family apart.
Yeah.
She drugged Grace.
Yeah.
With drugs. I want to be clear. She roofied Grace. She committed a fucking felony. Okay, anyway. So Grace, they want to go on this little trip tonight. For a couple of days. Meanwhile, at the inn, which I guess is situated right across from Tabitha's house, I guess. I don't know how this neighborhood is set up. Because
they used to have a map. I remember on the website. I think we saw it one time on a
have a map.
Discord. Yeah.
I have a map that was sent to me years ago when we started this podcast by I think it was Zach that sent it to us. I don't know if Zach still listens. I don't never hear from Zach anymore. If you're out there, hey Zach. Anyway, he sent us a map years ago, but it quickly became outdated. Like
Yeah.
it quickly like didn't work anymore.
Yeah,
But
I remember the one that they had on their website, and it was so condensed. It was like
yeah.
Tabitha's house, Grace's house. It had like a little wave up, and it was like the Crane Mansion on Raven Hill or whatever. Like it did try its best, but I mean, it was like so. It looked like a little kids menu map.
Yeah, I should look up that pull that map back up and look at where the inn is, because it does have that on there where the inn is in relation to
And I
Tabitha's
always,
house.
yeah, I always assumed it was very close by because of the way that they would walk back and forth
It
between
is
Grace
it's definitely
Bennett's
close
and
by,
yeah.
but like is it situated in a way where you would be able to see into Tabitha's home? I don't think so. But anyway, it
Because
doesn't
he's
matter.
also yeah.
That it doesn't matter because that's what the show has set up for us. So
Yeah.
I'm just nitpicking at this point.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's spying on them. Uh and then Jessica comes in and catches him spying on her parents. And when she confronts him about it, he says, "Oh, the camera must have shifted," because he goes to like get some towels, because the reason she came
Yeah.
into his room in the first place was she was like, "I'm here to get your laundry, like your towels and sheets and stuff." And so he goes to get the towels out of the bathroom. She goes over to the window because there's a suspicious thing happening in this window.
Yeah.
This giant camera lens is pointed directly at Tabitha's house. And so she looks through it. She realizes it's right on her parents. And then she puts on the headphones. She hears their conversation. She confronts him about it when he comes back. She's like, "What is all this?" He says, "Oh, the camera must have shifted. Is it really on your parents?" "No, I was trying to take pictures of the construction site because your mom asked me to." Then she says, "Well, what about the headphones?" And he says, "Oh, this is just a little photography trick I picked up in Africa. If you can hear your subject, you can take better pictures." And
The
she was like,
stupidest thing. Yeah.
"Yeah." And she was like, "Oh, I get that makes sense, I guess."
Oh,
"No, it doesn't,
Jessica.
babe.
No, it does not, Jessica. Come on.
No, it doesn't."
Yeah, but also what's funny is if you listen closely, you can hear birds chirping, and I just thought, oh, he's gonna say he's bird watching and he's taking pictures of birds. That would have made more sense for why he was hearing them, and like hey, I'm correctly doing bird watching. No, he's like, I'm taking pictures of the construction site for your mom. Which again, then if I were Jessica, I'd go ask Grace, hey, did you tell what's his face to take pictures of the construction site?
Also, here's a question. Why would you need like the audio to take quote
A better picture.
better picture of an empty lot? I with a few frames on it. What do they need pictures of it for? Also, what do they need pictures of it for?
Yeah.
Anyway, she kind of sort of buys it. I'm not sure. It's unclear. She kind of leaves and she looks like she's still kind of suspicious. She does say
Hmm.
to him, "I don't know whether to be nice to you or give you the cold shoulder." And he's like, "I'd rather you do the former," and meaning be nice, whatever. Then he goes back to spying and scheming.
Yeah.
And he comes up with a way to keep them from going on their trip, because at one point Grace is like, "Don't worry, Sam, nothing's gonna stop us from going on our trip tonight." And he's like, "I wouldn't be so sure, Grace." And so then David shows up at the house and he says, "Hey, Grace, I just got a phone call about this photography assignment. I think I'm going to go on it. And I don't think I'm going to be coming back afterwards." Because
Yeah.
she's like, "Well, we can talk when you get back." "When will you get back?" I think she asked. And he says, "Oh, well, I was thinking after this job, I would take your advice and move on with my life, like you said. So I don't know if I'll be coming back." I don't know what this accent is, y'all. I'll be slipping in and out. I
It's
don't know.
hard. It's a hard one.
Anyway, so he says that, and she's like, "But we haven't had a chance to talk about my past. You haven't told me anything about my past yet." "Yeah, girl, you've had ample opportunities to ask him
Yeah.
stuff about your past. Why haven't you done that?
Yeah.
Why haven't you done anything, Grace?"
Oh, that was what
And
annoyed me too, because I'm like, also, let's not make it sound like you can't talk on the phone. At this point, you can use AOL Instant Messenger. She could just be like, send me a message on tomato soup cake 68 at AOL.com.
yeah.
Like, why are we having this like he has to be here? Because she wants him to be here.
You make a very good point. You make a good point. Y'all can use the phone. So he's like, "Oh, well, I have time tonight." and basically it's either tonight or never. He's like, if we
Hmm.
don't talk tonight, then I don't know when we'll be able to talk again.
It's just so dumb.
Yeah, it's very dumb. But anyway, that's it for them. You have anything to add with that?
No,
Good.
I'm good.
Good. Moving on. Charity is flipping the fuck out as usual, per usual. What else is new? What else is new?
Yep.
Charity is having a dream about Kay and Miguel having sex. The leaves are rustling on the outside, saying, "Beware, beware. Kay is not alone. There are others who can take Miguel away from you. Beware." The leaves. All right.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Kay is like doing her thing, scheming. I'll make love to you, even if you don't want me to. That's where she's at. That's what she's doing. Simone tells her it's wrong, yada yada yada. Same old, nothing new here. Then Miguel comes in while Kay and Simone are talking, and he's like, "Kay, I need your help. I need your help putting together a very special night." Turns out he wants her to help him plan Charity's 18th birthday party. And
Yeah.
it is at this point that we hear Charity scream,
It
"No!
was very funny.
No!" I
Yeah.
cracked up. I cracked up. Of course, they all run upstairs to check on poor Charity. Poor Charity.
Yeah.
Poor Charity. What you gonna do?
Things look
Things
bad
look
for her.
bad for you. Hey,
Hey,
what you
what you gonna do?
Okay, so poor Charity is like flipping out. Miguel comes in, asks her what's going on. She says, "Something's trying to take you away from me." And Kay makes some snide remark. I don't know. I think she says, Who is it? Who's taken? And then
Yeah.
Charity says, "I don't know." Why she always say I don't know? I
Yeah.
mean, like, you remember the dream.
You just had that. Yeah.
I don't know. And Miguel tells her, "Nothing's gonna harm you, not while I'm around." I'm in the pocket
Yeah.
today.
Full musical theater.
Miguel then tells her, nobody's gonna break us up. And she also tells him that the tree warned her again. Everybody's kind of giving each other the side eye about that, but I mean, it's reasonable enough. At this point, we need to talk about what's going on with Tabitha and Timmy. Tabitha and Timmy are getting ready to go to a wedding, darling.
And I have to tell you, they look amazing. They
Great.
both look so good. And you know what? I think oftentimes Tabitha might be on the worst dress list and some of these things with her kooky outfits, but she looks fantastic in this thing.
She has a great like Georgian gown.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
And
definitely.
it
Think like
fits
think like
her perfectly.
think like Bridgerton.
Yeah.
It's that. It
And
looks
Timmy looks
great.
great. Yeah,
Yeah,
Timmy looks good too.
yeah. He's in his tuxedo. They look wonderful. They're getting
Yeah.
ready to go to the Crane wedding, Rebecca and Julian's wedding, which remember she stole an invitation for, so that because she wants to get back into the Crane mansion to get to Hecuba's lair so she can get some
Herbs.
herbs to get some
Yeah.
herbs to help Kay in her plan to get Miguel, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, they look great. They're getting all ready, getting all dolled up. And then a tree branch just comes sweeping in and it pins them to the wall. And
Yeah.
so now they're stuck in and being held up by like this tree branch. Tabitha says it's the tree trying to protect Charity and keep her
Yeah.
from helping Kay.
I just
Um,
wrote Tabitha and Timmy get bushwhacked.
That's exactly what happens. That's exactly what happens. So Reese comes running into like Charity's room and tells the kids, "There's a tree branch that's going right into the attic. You won't believe it. And it looks like it's doing it on purpose." So then they go to the attic and find
So
Tabitha trapped by the tree branch.
I want to say before that happens, Tabitha tries to reason with the tree. She's like, "Your efforts are futile. Like, it's not worth it. Like, will you stop?" She goes, and then she starts to do her speech about what happens when Miguel and Charity make love. And Timmy is so tired of hearing it that he, even in his own at Josh Ryan Evans, does it so well. He's like, "If Charity and Miguel make love, he'll come into her full power." Like, he's just so annoyed with this. He's like, "This tree's choking us. Like, do something." It was great. because I'm like, at this point, we're so tired of hearing this.
Sick of it. Sick of it. I'm with Timmy on that for sure.
Yeah, Timmy was fed up.
Okay, so yeah, the kids go to the attic to see what Reese is talking about, where they find Tabitha and Timmy trapped by the tree branch. Of course, Timmy has gone back into doll mode. Um, Miguel says, "Oh, we should get the fire department. And they need to bring some chainsaws, and we can cut the branches off the tree." And Charity says, "No, you can't hurt this tree. This tree is my friend."
Oh, I laughed so hard. And I tell you, the actress who plays Kay was phenomenal in this. Side eye, like just making fun of her. Like, this is the stupidest thing she's ever heard. Because it is.
Yeah. God, Charity's so weird. Like if you take out the part where she's absolutely correct,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you take away the fact that yes, in the story she really is right, she just sounds so crazy
Oh,
all the
and
time.
and it's just and it's so much fun here because what's happening is they're having a full on conversation about Reese saying like, oh, there's evil here, all the same evil stuff. But what's happening is they're having a legit conversation while Tabitha and Timmy are stuck on the wall. Like they're not even like my first thought would be like trying to get her out. No, they're like, let's discuss this real quick. Like, what's going on with the tree?
Yeah, at one point, Reese says something about trees being, according to the Lord of the Rings, trees are the wisest of the nature's inanimate objects, and
To
they're
which to which Tabitha says, Lord of the Who?
yeah. He says they're just trying to warn us that Tabitha's evil. Yeah, all of this while she's trapped there in the tree. So yeah, Charity says you can't cut the tree. The tree is my friend. Fair enough, I guess. And then Charity says, I know how we can get Tabitha down. I can just ask the tree, little tree,
Yeah.
little tree. Like she
Yeah.
then she asks the tree. She says, I know you want to protect me, but we have to let things play out. Whatever may come, I'm gonna face it. And I paraphrased a little bit. I cut some out. She
Yeah.
talked for a while. But that's basically what she says. Whatever may come, I'm gonna face it. And the tree lets Tabitha go and it goes back out. And that's that. Simone
Yeah.
says very quietly to Kay, she says, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't go up against a girl who can make trees listen to her.
And I think that's great advice. That's I will never mess with anybody who has the power to talk to trees.
I mean, and the trees do what you
And
ask
they
them to
do what
do.
they ask.
That's wild. We all have the power to talk to the trees.
Yeah.
But do the trees talk back? Do the trees talk back? That's when the scary part comes in. If the trees are talking back to somebody and doing movements like they've been asked to do, then it's scary. So that's basically it for the kids. Then Tabitha, they talk about the tree for a little bit. I don't care. I'm
Yeah, they
sorry. I
don't.
just don't
Yeah.
care.
They quickly just go to the mansion after that.
Yeah, she goes over to the mansion.
This
And
is fun stuff.
they get in with their fake not it's not a fake invitation. It is an invitation. It's a stolen invitation.
Invitation.
They get in. Tabitha, I don't know what's going through her head. Why are you the first to arrive? Girl, you want to
Yeah.
you want to try and blend in. So show up once the party's got going some so that you can kind of sneak in. She shows
Yeah.
up, she's the first one there. And we get some fun. This is a good segue over into the mansion and everything that's going on at the mansion. Because Julian, of course, gets kind of caught up in the Tabitha and Timmy stuff. So they get there. They get there, and we're just gonna finish up with what's going on with Tabitha and Timmy, and then we're gonna run through all of
Yeah.
the mansion stuff. But they get there, and Julian sees them and is horrified.
Yeah.
He fully and truly believes that everything that has gone wrong in his life started the day he met Tabitha and Timmy. And he keeps going on about how the doll is alive. That doll is alive. Harper, who is the lawyer, everybody, is there telling Julian the same thing like Rebecca's been saying to him, which is you
If
can't.
Julian, if you keep talking about that doll being alive, you're gonna get carted away. I was just like, that's all it is. But what we do get is a really good Julian and Timmy montage. And so that is worth all of this. But it's setting us up for the fact that Tabitha and Timmy's hijinks are gonna mess with the union of Rebecca and Julian.
Yeah. Yeah, we get a great. I love that montage. Actually, I actually watched it, and then you sent it to me, so I will definitely be putting it up on the social media once this episode comes out. But yeah, we get this montage. Eventually, uh, Julian has Harper ask Tabitha to leave, saying your invitation was a mistake. We're gonna have to ask you to leave.
Yeah.
He doesn't want her there. Fair enough. Fair enough. It's his wedding day at his house. So they leave and immediately come up with another plan to get back in. They go home. She's like, I got a plan. We're going to do this.
Yeah, because Tabitha goes, I have a marvelous idea. To which Timmy goes, every time Tabitha has a marvelous idea, Timmy gets in trouble, which I thought was cute. And it's very fast, and it is not a marvelous idea, but it
No,
works.
it is not a marvelous idea. So basically, what's going on at the mansion is Julian is struggling to find an officiant for this wedding because the one that they had booked, the judge that they had booked, has fallen and broken his leg, and now they can't find anybody in town, even though Julian Crane is a fucking billionaire, and all it takes is an internet like not diploma, but like an internet certificate to be like
Yeah.
ordained. They can't find anybody in this
Yeah.
town, in the tri-state area, even though he's a billionaire who should be able to get anything at any time.
Yeah. And Father Lonigan ain't going to sign up for that one.
Mm-mm. Father Lonigan will not set foot in this house. The house would go into flames just by him coming in the evil house. Theresa calls it an evil house
Yeah.
in these episodes. But anyway, yeah, they can't find an officiant. So Tabitha hears this while they're still there. They leave. And her new plan is to have Timmy dress up as a rabbi, and she's dressed up as a chauffeur. I am loving.
Oh, it's camp. It's fun.
I'm loving that we've brought back Tabitha in in like disguises, because she was in so many disguises. Like the first 100 episodes,
Yeah.
she's in so many great disguises. So I'm glad to see her back in her disguises.
And then, of course, the rabbi costume is when they were fleeing from Norma. That's what they used to get away from Norma's hotel and kind of evade her at the airport. That's where they had the costume last.
Yeah, he was a rabbi. She was a nun back
Yeah.
then.
Why are they hanging out together? They went to a religious conference. I don't know.
It's an interfaith connection, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's now dressed up and pretending to be his chauffeur. So they go, and like assistant / chauffeur is what she says.
Yeah.
So they go back to the mansion. Well, she calls them and says, "Hey, I hear you have a problem finding an officiant. I got an officiant for you." Harper's like, "Oh, okay." And then we get there, and we see the gag is that Timmy is a little person and is a rabbi, right?
And again, throughout this, he's underscored with Fiddler on the Roof type like music being played. And again, if it has a specific name, it's just they allude to it eventually, and they will actually kind of allude to the musical itself. But there's that music that's kind of hyping up. And Timmy's like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Timmy doesn't even know how to speak Hebrew. But this is what they're playing this up 100%.
My favorite part of this whole situation was at one point Timmy's feeling really nervous about this. He's scared he's gonna get in trouble. He's like, I've never officiated a wedding. What does Timmy know? What does Tim know about doing this?
Yeah.
And every time he speaks to somebody, he's just like, Mazel Tov, Lahaim, Shalom. Like he just says like the three things everybody knows, right? And so he goes off to make himself a picture of Martimmy's. And he sneaks off to Julian's library and makes a picture of Martimmy's. And then he hears them coming down the hall. So he hides. He runs away. They don't catch him there. But Julian finds the picture of Martimmy's. And he's like, what is this? He takes a sip. He's like, it's the drink
nectar?
of the nectar of the dolls.
There you go. Yeah.
I was cracking up. I wrote it down specifically what he said, but basically, yeah, he does call it the nectar of the dolls. It's the dolls' drink, the
Yeah.
nectar of the dolls, and I love that. I love that, the nectar of the dolls.
And I love that he like that's what he was craving. He was like, I wish at least I could have a martini if that doll's spooking me out. But he got a little taste for his wedding day. So
Yeah.
congratulations, Julian.
Yeah, so that's basically, well, Tabitha manages to get to Hecuba's lair and she's finding the things that she needs. She finds eye of newt. Finds like pigweed aphrodisiac, something like
Yeah.
that. And then a face in a bottle appears and says, "What are you doing here, Tabitha? What do you want with these herbs? Tell me, or I won't let you leave."
It's just another one of like Hecuba's minions. We've met one or two before every time they have to go down there. And she's like, why are you here? What are you up to? And that's pretty much where that kind of
That's
wraps
basically
up.
where we end. Yeah. So now, y'all, it's time to get into the meat. Look at all these notes I got. Get ready. Strap in. Strap in. Strap in. Strap in. We're making good time though.
Oh
So
yeah, and it's just again, just one more thing to just say. Timmy does a fantastic job with his lines that like his very cliche oy veys and mazel tovs, and he tries to put on a very thicker voice, and it's just. And again, it's funny because Timmy has very few conversations as a normal person, and it's very obvious that he's trying so hard to be a human. And I thought
yeah,
that that was really fun. So just to
yeah,
wrap that up.
yeah. I agree. He was a little bit of a highlight this week
Oh
for
yeah.
sure. The shalom was, and
Yeah.
when and Tabitha's like shalom, he's like, I'm just playing the part.
Well, and Tabitha says at one point to Harper, she's like, "Hey, just remember, like you might need to help him because he's vertically challenged,
Mm-hmm.
and so like they have to prop him up somewhere." So
Prop him up
yeah,
somewhere. They got like a place for him to stand where he
yeah,
can stand up above the podium.
yeah.
Okay. So y'all, let's talk about I don't know what to call this. I'm gonna have to come up with something to call this mess. It is a mess.
And this is a huge pivotal moment in this soap opera. This is big.
Teresa, 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 my God, girl. Okay,
Like
so
that's my favorite thing. My mom would say, "Teresa, Teresa, te duele la cabeza. Your head hurts. Yeah."
mm, let's start with Rebecca, I guess. It's her wedding day. It's her
Oh,
wedding
it
day.
starts off with a pretty damn good joke too. It made me laugh really hard. At some point, Rebecca and Gwen are getting ready for the wedding, and I will say, Gwen looks fantastic in that black. I don't know about those feathers. I don't know if I need the feathers, but she looks that black dress. Again, I don't know why she's wearing black, but maybe she's telling us something. But she looks fantastic in it. Rebecca asks, "Well, do I look virginal?" And Gwen goes, no. So I thought it
Yeah,
was cute. I
they do.
do. Rebecca and Gwen together, they're they're fun. They're fun. I can't take that away from them.
Yeah, I honestly, actually, truthfully, I kind of feel bad for Gwen sometimes that that's her mother.
Yeah,
How embarrassing.
yeah. Because this woman is star for attention, and like she's number one. I mean, she is number one. And I will say, the one thing that Rebecca has going for her is that she's gonna fight for Gwen and like do
Yeah.
everything for Gwen. But like,
But
yeah, it is still
that's
yeah.
only because Gwen is an extension of herself. Like
Hmm.
that's
I
all I don't
made this. I made
yeah.
this. This needs to be successful.
Almost like she is mine. Like
Yeah.
Gwen is her property.
Yeah.
And how dare you mess with my property. But anyway,
Yeah.
Rebecca is in her wedding dress. She asks if she looks virginal. Her own daughter is like, obviously not. I'm here. Anyway, um Gwen then is like, "Do you really want to marry Julian? Like, are you sure about this?" She pulls out her gun. She puts it in her garter belt. She's like, "Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. Do you really? Are you sure you want to marry Julian like at gunpoint?"
Yeah.
And then she talks about like, "What about love?" And then Rebecca basically goes, "What's love got to do
Yeah.
with it? Got to do?" She literally says like, "What's love got to do with it?"
Yeah.
You know?
She's got something old, something borrowed, something loaded, something
Yeah.
barreled. Yeah.
she's come hell or high water, she's gonna marry Julian. Whether if she has to do it at gunpoint, if we're gonna have a shotgun wedding, we're gonna have a shotgun wedding, and it is what it
Yeah.
is. And at the end of the day, I will be Mrs. Julian Crane, and that's how
Yeah.
she feels about it. So they're getting ready for the wedding. They're having like these moments. She puts the gun in her garter belt, and then meanwhile, Julian's been like kind of scheming, trying to figure out a way to like postpone this wedding.
Yeah.
So he goes upstairs and he's like, "Oh, I have a wedding gift for you, Pookie." And they do this thing where she's like, "You can't see the bride," so he looks away, and then she's like, he says, "I have something for you." And I can't remember exactly how we got there, but she was like, "I guess you can look at my ankles,"
Yeah.
and because he wants to put something on her leg, a garter belt, and it's
Yeah.
a oh, it's because she sees what it is, and it's like a beautifully like bejeweled encrusted garter belt. So she's like, "I guess you could look at my ankles," and so he goes down to put it on for her, and as he's sliding it up, he's like, "Yeah, I wanted to get you two of these." I don't know what made him think this was going to work. "I wanted you to get you two of these, but the other one is held up, and maybe we should wait until you can have a pair."
Yeah. It's like lame.
And when as he gets up, as he's saying we should wait, he sees the gun in her garter belt, and she's like, "Oh no, Pookie, we're getting married today. Don't you see?" You
Yeah.
know,
I like that because the garter made me laugh just because he kind of like is like, isn't this nice? And Gwen just looks at him and is like, like it's just so fun. I mean, like they have no relationship with each other whatsoever, Gwen and Julian, and it was good by the actress. I thought she was very funny when she was just like, like she's like, I don't
I would be
care.
disgusted.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's I'm sure that that's an underlying motivation for that delivery as well. Yeah, but
yeah.
yes, she shows him the gun with the holster, and he goes, "You are packing."
Yeah, so he she says to him, "Yes, this wedding is happening today or else," basically.
Hmm.
So Julian starts to panic. He goes downstairs. He looks for his own gun for some reason. I don't know. I guess because she's got a gun, he should have a gun too. I don't know how that makes the situation any better.
Yeah,
But let's talk about let's now talk about what's going on with Theresa. Theresa is anxious to get her annulment. That's why she's at the mansion in the first place. Remember,
yeah,
she has gone under the guise of, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll go with you to talk to your mom, Ethan." But she's really there because she was told that there would be annulment papers. And she and Julian are waiting together for the papers. And Julian offers to make her his mistress at one point. He's like, "After we get this thing annulled and I'm married to Bex, there's no reason why you and I couldn't continue our relationship, and I'll set you up in a little pied de terre, and you'll have your own, you'll want for nothing, and you can just be my mistress." And she says, "No, I love Ethan. I'm going to marry him, and I never want to see you again. I never would have married you if you hadn't gotten me drunk. You are a horrible person, and I want my annulment now." Yes, these are
yeah.
all true things, Theresa. All true things. I do feel bad for my girl. I need to keep in mind because the show is doing a very bad job of reminding us of how heinous the situation was when she and Julian got married.
I'm happy that you continue to bring that up because it is true. And they'll discuss it later on, particularly Ivy and Teresa have a conversation about how this all happened. And it's important for us to remember the events of how this took place. So yeah, I can't wait to get there. But yeah, this is Julian. You got so much more on your plate. You should not be worrying about. You should be focused on the idea of you killed your sister, and the secret is being exposed if you don't do what you're supposed to do. Also, you are creating the act of bigamy. My God, what is happening here? I don't know what settings I have on. I'm so
You
sorry,
must have some
listeners.
kind of setting on that does that.
There is some setting where if I make very specific hand gestures, apparently it's going to throw out emojis or balloons. So I feel like I'm in an episode of Passions right now.
That's hilarious. I wonder what that is. Oh, well, I don't know, honey. I don't
Okay.
know. Tabitha's put a hex on you. That's hilarious.
God only knows what other I'm like, what else can I do?
Right. Okay, let's do this. Let me see. Where were we before? I got so distracted by that because I'm like, what
Yeah,
is that?
it was. What did I say? Thumbs up to?
Nah, I don't
Oh,
know.
I think we were talking about how Ivy.
Teresa, how the show
Yes.
downplays that Teresa was drunk and how
Yes, that's
heinous that whole
exactly right. And I'm
situation is.
happy that you continue to bring it up. And Ivy and Teresa are going to have a conversation about the events that took place that led to all of this later on. But we are focused on Julian right now, and he's the
Yeah.
one that's sitting there, like, trying to get through this wedding, but also trying to get the annulment papers signed at the same time.
Yeah. So Harper arrives and he does not have the annulment papers, but he says that they will be there within the hour.
Yeah.
Um Teresa's like, she's getting more and more agitated, and we will see the culmination of that in a little bit. Meanwhile, Ivy and Ethan are having like their very typical back and forth about Teresa, where Ivy's saying Teresa's a liar, Ethan saying Teresa would never lie to me again, and she has she's promised me, and she would never hurt me. And then Ivy makes him promise, which I think we got into this a little bit last week,
Yeah, a
makes him
little bit. Yeah.
promise that he will um promise her that he will break up with Teresa if she ever lies to him again. And he tells Ivy, he's like, Mother, you're misguided. You just don't understand Teresa. You just, she's great. You got to give her a chance. And then Ivy asks him, do you really think Teresa signed those annulment papers accidentally? That was a
Because she's
good.
like, who? Yes, she is a true detective, and for her to be like, who signed something without reading them? And I know Teresa may be naive, but she's not stupid. I mean, like, the girl is not stupid. So for Ivy, no, I mean, Ivy's really good at this. I mean, this is her bread and butter, is like sussing out people and like reading people. So
Yeah. And she says exactly that. Because he in fact does believe that she signed that stuff uh
accidentally.
accidentally, which frankly, if I'm going to be honest, if I'm Teresa, I'm a little bit offended that you really thought. You really think I'm that dumb? He thinks she's that dumb though. Anyway, Ivy says, I know she's dumb. I mean, I know she is I know she's naive, but I never thought she was stupid, like you said.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't she have read what she was signing? Ethan says he kind of appeals to Ivy to saying, Mother, she means more to me than anything in this world, and I just want you to meet with her and give Teresa a chance, give her a chance to make amends. She didn't mean to do what she did. Well, she didn't send the thing to the papers or whatever.
Yeah.
Which, what's crazy is that's such small potatoes now. The
What?
tabloid stuff is has become such small potatoes once as we go further into this. It's
Yeah.
like, nah. So she scanned the letter into her computer. She married Julian.
Yeah. I mean, that's the yeah.
That's the big thing. So anyway, um, Ethan appeals to her, wants her to let Teresa try and make amends to her, and then he leaves and goes to find Teresa and finds her. He is aggrieved to find her in Julian's lair, which he calls it. He says, "This is Julian's lair. Why are you
Yeah.
here?" And she said, I can't remember what she said. She like got lost. I don't know. Because meanwhile, Julian and Harper are hiding. So he comes in. He doesn't see Julian or Harper. He pulls her out and talks to her about Ivy a little bit, and then he takes her to go talk to Ivy. When she gets up, she receives quite the icy reception from Ivy. Of course.
Yeah, because Jerry has called her and has informed her finally, without a doubt, that
No,
Teresa.
mm-mm,
Oh,
mm-mm, no, we're not there yet.
oh, sorry. Go ahead and cut
Yeah,
that out.
we're not there yet. No, she gives her the icy reception because Ivy is icy. Ivy doesn't like Teresa. She's sick of it. She does have her suspicions about what's going on
Oh,
with
that's
Teresa.
right. We keep waiting for the facts.
Yeah, she has her suspicions about what's going on with Teresa. So she gives Teresa a very icy reception. And then Teresa says to her, I just want to make things go back to how they were when Ethan and I first gotten engaged, and how warm you were to me, and Then Ivy presses her, saying, "You mean before you scanned my personal letter into your computer?" And then Theresa says, "I feel horrible about that. I feel horrible about everything that happened." But Ivy isn't interested in her apologies at all. And she starts to just kind of lay everything out about that has happened. It's recap for people who hadn't seen the episodes or didn't know, or who came in late and didn't know that Theresa scanned the letter. The letter got sent to the tabloid. Then it all came out at the party. Grace lost her baby. All of the things that we all already know. Ivy lays it all out. And when you say it like that, it sounds very damning. When you put it all together
Yeah.
and, string all those thoughts together, it does sound horrible. Um, and then Ivy says, "If I believe you, does that mean you won't lie to Ethan anymore?" Oh, okay. I see what happens. So Theresa says, "I feel horrible about all of those things. But you have to believe me, I did not send that letter to the tabloids." And that's when Ivy says, "Well, if I believe you, does that mean that you won't lie to Ethan anymore?" And Theresa is quiet, which is unusual for our little lovable lunatic. Which y'all not. She just, oof, the lunacy gets so much worse to this week. She says. Ivy then looks at both of them and says, "You know what? If either of you found out that you were keeping some secret from each other, you wouldn't want to get married anymore, right?" And that's when Ivy gets a phone call from Jerry, who tells her, "I've got the goods. I've got the goods. Julian married Theresa Lopez Fitzgerald." And he tells her the whole sordid tale. He's on the phone with her. And she tells him to fax her the wedding license immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Ethan is while she's on the phone, tries to assure Theresa that he believes that she and Ivy can eventually make amends. And then he tells her that he made a promise to Ivy. He tells her about the promise he made to Ivy about breaking up with her if she ever lies to him again. And he's like, "But I have full faith in you. That's never going to happen, Theresa. You would never lie to me, Theresa." Why does he keep saying that? Why does he keep saying you would never lie to me? She's lied to you multiple times at this point that you know about.
Yeah, and I think that's what is annoying, because it just continues to it's setting us up for the fact that obviously she has lied about something else, or has held something deep with from him. But it's annoying, like, why do you gotta baby us? But again, it's like you said, sometimes we gotta cater to a new viewer or some, I mean, like, sometimes you do that, but it's just driving home the fact that she is keeping something from him.
"You would never lie to me, Theresa, and you wouldn't hurt me, so it's never gonna happen. We're gonna get married."
Yeah.
He sucks. I'm sorry, he doesn't suck. Teresa's the one lying. But anyway, he's the idiot who can't see through anything. And also, what a weird promise to make. People lie.
Yeah.
And they lie about all kinds of things, ranging from big to small. People lie. There will come a time in y'all's lives where she will lie to you again. For sure. For sure. People lie. And sometimes it's just to keep the peace. Sometimes you lie just because it's like, you know what, it's easier for me to just be like, okay.
Yeah, I don't want to do that, or whatever. Or I
Yeah,
don't want
or
to hurt somebody's feelings.
yes, exactly. Especially like when you're married to somebody. Sometimes you might say, for instance, maybe he will ask her, "Are you okay?" And she will like, "I'm fine." Even though she's not fine. That's a lie.
Yeah.
That is a lie. So anyway, he tells her about the promise he made to Ivy, and she's like, "Why would you do that? Why would you do
like,
that?"
Theresa, why are you showing all your cards so fast? God bless it.
My baby.
Like, just, I know, yeah, lovable lunatic, but like, while that's going on, Ivy is waiting for a fax. She is waiting for the fax from Jerry that has the certification. It's Julian and Theresa's wedding license. So she says at some point that she's waiting for the fax of her life. You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts
of life. The facts of life. Okay. So Ethan eventually leaves the two of them to kind of talk while Ivy is sitting there looking at the fax machine, waiting for this fax to come through. And Theresa, Sorry. As Ivy is waiting for the facts, Theresa tells her how much she loves Ethan, that she loves him more than anything. I would never do anything to hurt him, yada yada. We've heard
And
this all before, right?
all of this is good too because you have to know that Ivy is just so cocky as hell right now. It is so belittling. And I'm going to go on Ivy's side and Teresa's side for the remainder of the podcast. I'm going to go yes, no, because I love them both as characters. And I'm going to say where I'm like, that's a technical foul. That's a flag on the play. I'm going to have some issues here. But right here is when Teresa's like, I need you to know that at least my family knows that when I made some choices, they were always for the best for Ethan. Like I tried my best to do good things. And to which Ivy responds, the road to hell is paved in good intentions, as they say. And so like
Mm-hmm.
she's just so cocky. I mean, she has all the power and she's waiting for that one little piece. And it's so hard. And you know what? Lindsay Hartley, she is doing a bang up job in this. Those doe eyes, the waters in her eyes. I mean, that's like her bread and butter. And she's just the two of them together. It's just every time even and I love Tabitha and Timmy. Y'all know that I love magic, but I wanted to stay in this room
Me
as long
too.
as possible.
Me too. I loved every sordid, insane minute of this.
And this
So
is just the tip of the iceberg. We haven't even gotten
yeah,
to the meat and potatoes.
we're about to though because Ivy gets the facts. The facts comes through, and Ivy starts going on about how Theresa has ruined her life, ruined Ethan's life, ruined, caused so much destruction around town. And Theresa says, "You make me sound like a monster, Mrs. Crane." And Ivy says, "Oh, yes. How could you, one young woman so seemingly innocent and loving, be so deceitful?" She's being kind of facetious, but Teresa's not picking up on that.
Oh yeah, she really thinks that maybe she's kind of coming around again because Ethan had just talked to Ivy and said try and make it work, and so she thinks she's in there in good faith. But that's when she's like, "Do you think you can be responsible for all this pain?" Because she also, again, she brought it up before, but she brings it up again. Is Grace losing the baby and like putting that on Teresa? Like that's come on, that's bullshit.
Well,
You
she also
cannot.
puts on Teresa that she's in the wheelchair, like that's
Yeah,
her fault. Yeah, she puts literally she lays everything in her
in
life that's wrong at Teresa's feet, and that's
in
just
her
incorrect.
in her head, it all started the minute that letter got exposed. And I mean, a while back, a couple weeks back, we all know that Pilar came to Teresa's defense and was like, put her face to a mirror and said, "You did that." She's like, "I know my Teresa is she. I know who I got." You know, just like a normal mom would say, "I know who my person is, but you did that." Like, so
Right.
don't try and put that on my kid. And
Yeah.
she is doing it again just to drive the knife in a little more harder.
Well, she's being kind of sweet. Not sweet is the wrong word, but it does seem from Teresa's view that she's coming around. From my view, obviously, I was like,
Yeah.
she's being deceitful, facetious. She's saying this almost sarcastically, right?
Yeah.
And she says, "Everything couldn't be your fault. It's just all a series of terrible mistakes, accidents, actually. You can't be the schemer that Gwen says you are, or the manipulating, gold digging bitch that Rebecca accuses you of being. That's just not you. It just couldn't be you." And Teresa is like, sincerely grateful that Ivy seems to be
Yeah.
coming around. And she says, "Thank you for seeing me for who I am." And Ivy says, "I see you very clearly, Teresa." Ooh,
I know,
wee.
and again, just again, I want to a song on to defend Teresa on here. I hate when they keep giving Teresa that it was all about the money. That's bullshit. Because the minute Ethan got disinherited, then she should have left. She never did. She stood by Ethan, was hooked him up at the house, like had him there, and it drives me crazy because then the opposite of that is because she now got married to Julian. They are vindicated and they're like, "Yep, you see, all you ever did was care about the money."
Why would she be trying tooth and nail to get an annulment from this man if it was about the money? If it was about the money, she would be yelling from the rooftops, ha ha ha, bitches, I did
Yep.
it. This is
Yep.
all mine. Everything the light touches, ho.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what.
Listen. Everything the light touches is mine in this bitch.
Yeah.
So y'all can go. Like she would really be acting very differently because she has bagged Julian, but she don't want him. But yes, that's neat. We are going to get even more into that because Ivy said some shit, and I wrote down in my notes like, "Girl, this doesn't even make sense." And Ivy's so smart. She just wants to be angry at Theresa.
Yes, and there's great lines in this. Like, for example, at one point she says, "I wanted to see Ethan in the White House. You hope to give him an office in your own living room." I'm like, I mean, it's just callous, right? Like mean, like straight up vindictive and mean.
Nasty work. So, okay. Theresa says, I'm glad we're putting everything to rest and that you see me for who I really am. Ivy says, I see you very clearly, Theresa. And she says, so that means the world to me. And she starts to leave. And then Ivy stops her and says, oh, Theresa, but there was one more thing I wanted to ask you. It's about Bermuda. Can you tell me again what happened in Bermuda? Theresa, of course, lies. She says, I went down there to talk to Mr. Crane about reinstating Ethan as a Crane, which isn't a lie. That part's not a lie. And then Ivy presses her and she says, and what did Julian say when you asked him about that? And she says, oh, well, he said he would think about it. And Ivy says, just like that? That's not like Julian. How on earth could you have possibly gotten him to come over to your side so easily, so quickly? And she says, honestly, it's all hazy. All the stuff with Sheridan, I don't remember. A lot happened while we were there. Ivy plays along and she says, oh, but I do remember something else. Something along the lines of farce, where something happened between you and Julian. Oh, I know. Ethan said that he thought that Julian had harmed you in some way, and then he went looking for you and couldn't find you. And Theresa says, oh, but it was all a mistake. We got it all worked out. It's all in the past. And Theresa then says, Mrs. Crane, I really have to go now, Mrs. Crane. And Ivy whips around. It was great because Ivy was facing away from the door. Yeah. Theresa walks towards the door, says, I have to go now, Mrs. Crane. Ivy whips that wheelchair around and she says, don't call me Mrs. Crane, Theresa, because you know... She says, don't call me Mrs. Crane, Theresa, because as you well know, you are Mrs. Crane, Mrs. Julian Crane. It was great. It was great.
And that's how one of the episodes ends. And can you imagine watching that for the first time and just being like, oh, you got to wait 24 hours for that next episode?
Don't call me Mrs. Crane, Theresa. Oh, you are Mrs. Crane, Mrs. Julian Crane. Oh, it was so good. She delivered it. It was stunning. And from this moment on, Ivy is on 10. But Theresa,
she's off the rails. Yeah.
But Theresa takes it to 12.
Yeah.
But Theresa takes it to 12. And to be honest, I didn't entirely see it coming. With Theresa. So let's get into it. Theresa, of course, immediately feigns ignorance, right? She's like, I don't know. What are you talking about, Mrs. Crane? And Ivy's like, don't call me Mrs. Crane, Theresa, because you married Julian in Bermuda. I know all about it. And she tells her she sent...
Yeah, she keeps going in there. Ethan will never forgive you. I know the truth, and the whole world will know that you're Mrs. Julian Crane. Like, she just keeps, like,
and
repetitive.
Theresa was like playing like the innocent act for a minute, and the switch was nuts. When Ivy says, I know everything, right? And then Theresa says, no, that's not true. What are you talking about? And then she's like, I have the marriage license. Oh, no. She says, I know everything. I sent somebody, da-da-da-da. And then Theresa says, prove it. You can't prove it. You have no proof. Oh, and
Yeah.
then Ivy's like, oh no, look at this, bitch. This is a marriage license
Yes.
with your name and Julian's name. Is that not your name? Is that not your signature? Oh my God. She's got the
And
marriage license.
that's when Teresa faints. I mean, like that is just like it just escalates so fast. That's why it's like when you're watching the other stuff and fucking, oh Grace, I've been watching you through my bird peepers binocular. It was like, get the fuck out of here. I don't care about the Sheridan scarf. I was like, get back over here.
Get back, take me back to the Crane Mansion. Take me back. I want to go back. Yes. So, yes, because oh my God, that switch in Teresa, that crazy
Yeah.
switch just kind of flipped. And when she said, you have no proof. Oh my God. I was like, oh, not so lovable now, are we, lunatic?
Yeah.
And, um, so yes, Ivy shows her the marriage certificate. And she says, she goes off. She's just laying in Teresa. Ethan will never forgive you for this. No, Ethan will never forgive you this time, Teresa. The whole world will know the truth that you are Mrs. Julian Crane. And Teresa does pass out. She gives us the charity special and she passes out. And then Ivy like pushes her and wakes her up and
She says,
tells her,
wake up, you lying little bitch.
and she says, you're not getting out of this by fainting. All of this is happening. Meanwhile, Ethan, and we're going to come back to Teresa. This is important. We have to talk about Ethan really quickly. Ethan is talking with Julian downstairs about how he wants to stop the wedding and that he's looked through all the different legal ways to do it and he's coming up with bupkis. And Julian's like, what do you expect? I own every judge in this town. Even though you own every judge in this town, but you couldn't get one to come and marry you today. But anyway, and then they share like almost like a tender moment.
It's very nice. Again, it's
yeah, it was really
it's just
nice.
enough, right, to like remind us that all of Julian's misdeeds aside, and there are many, he losing Ethan is going to be one of the hardest things I think losing Eve and losing Ethan are two of the hardest things that he's ever had to deal with. And that it just reminds you again. And that's what I'm saying is like you are the one that pointed out to me that they do their best to make Julian more three-dimensional every once in a while, and that's why we have such difficulty like hating this man because of his egregious acts, because they'll give him stuff like this and he's talking to Ethan like they used to talk. Like it's very evident
He
that
calls him son.
yes,
He calls him son by accident.
yeah,
But
he backtrack it, but he's like, you can see, and he tells, he's like, I'll never forgive Ivy for that. He took away my firstborn son. But then I also play devil's advocate, and I'm mad at him because I'm like, you were still his dad. You
okay,
raised him.
the reason why I feel like this I wanted to talk about
Okay.
this right here,
Yeah.
right now, is to remind everybody of the harm that Ivy has done.
Hmm.
Ivy has done deep harm, and
Yeah.
she never really takes responsibility for it.
Yeah.
She blames Julian, even though a lot of things are Julian's fault.
Yeah.
This particular thing is not Julian's fault at all. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
he actually is the victim. For once, Julian really is the victim of Ivy. And I think it's really important that we had this moment here because I don't want I think the writers too don't want us thinking that Ivy's the bad guy and Ivy's the good guy and Teresa's the bad guy. Ivy is far from the good guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Ivy's far from the good guy and she's far from clean in this whole thing. Like you actually started this. Let's be clear. Why did you keep those letters? Why were you keeping any of that?
And again, let's not forget that Ivy is doing something else on the side that if you're a couple episodes ahead, know that Ivy's up to something also that has nothing to do with Teresa and Ethan, but she's got her own shit going on, and she is, like you said, does not walk on water. She has faults, and she has many of them.
Yeah.
Teresa and her will continue to have more in common as the years go by, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm happy
They
that
are
you pointed that out.
and I think it's really important that we see this moment between Ethan and Julian where Julian does show some humanity. He he has a moment with Ethan, and like you said, he says, because Ethan is like, "Why are you doing this? Is this just to get revenge on Mother?" And Julian is like, she took you. She took my son. She took my firstborn son. And a part of the conversation they were having was how proud Julian used to be of Ethan and how much he used to brag about, oh, he got it from his old man kind
Yeah,
of
he talks
stuff.
specifically about Ethan's tenacity, and he
Yeah.
always felt very. But then I'm like, I do believe that Julian is like a shark. Like I do believe that he probably was really savvy in business and like did some stuff. Yeah, he's a what like a lech or like a lover boy. Like he had all those other things. But I mean, like he had to have had some like smart and wit to like continue to run. I think so.
Ah,
I
rich people fall upwards all the time. He's rich. He's a rich, mediocre white man. I'm not gonna give
It's okay.
Julian too much credit as far as like being a savvy businessman, because also he also really just takes all of his um orders. He takes orders from Alistair.
Yeah. Well,
I
then
don't think
let
he
me
does much on his own.
well then let me rephrase that and say that that what he viewed as his own tenacity, he saw in
Yeah.
Ethan.
I mean, I will say that Julian is definitely tenacious. Let's not. I won't take that from
Yeah,
him.
I
Julian is
think that's kind of
absolutely
what I was trying
tenacious.
to go for, but like I can see where he's been very babied a lot, but like
Yeah.
he didn't have to worry about a lot. But I do think that there were some things that his pride was very much involved with Ethan and his development, and like I at least made one good thing,
Okay.
and the one good thing that I made isn't mine.
Isn't mine, and that is devastating. That's
Yeah.
devastating
But
for him.
also and Ethan points out to him, you dropped me like immediately. And that is something again that I'm like, even though you get points with me, I'm like, why did you like you didn't have to leave him like that. What did Ethan do to you? He didn't do that to you. It was
Mm-hmm.
done to him and to you. Like of the two people who could bond over this, or the three if you want to count Sam Bennett in there, but the two of them could have been like, I got, but no, because it is all about bloodline in that damn family.
Yeah, and of course, Alistair is a huge part of that,
Oh yeah,
right? And he was embarrassed. I mean, I'm not taking it. I agree with you wholeheartedly, 100%. You were his dad. How could you just drop him like that? But I also just in the context of the show understand what happened. I don't
yeah,
agree with it at all. So anyway, they had this conversation. It's important to talk about because then uh Ethan goes to find Theresa and he enters just as Ivy's like laying into her. And he wants to know what's going on, Theresa. What is it? And frantically, Theresa tells him, don't listen to her. Let's get out of here. We have to leave. He's trying to pull her out. Both women are just like yelling over each other, trying to be heard. And finally, Ivy says, she's a liar and a slut. And Ethan's like, I will not stand here and let you talk to the woman I love like that. And he starts to leave. And then Ivy exclaims, just look at this. Just look at this paper, Ethan. And she hands him the paper, the marriage license. He looks at it and he's like, what is this, Theresa? What is it? What does this mean? And Ivy exclaims, it means your lovely fiance is married to Julian. She married Julian. And it was so great. It was so good. And he asks, is this true? And Theresa tearfully comes clean partially. He's like, yes, it's true. I'm married to Julian, but it was a mistake, a horrible mistake. I had too much champagne. And then Ethan's like, too much champagne? That's all it took for you to marry Julian? I hate you. I want you out of my life. And it was at that moment I was like, oh, passion's got me.
yeah,
Passion's got me. This is not real. I wrote it down. When he started going, I hate you. I want you out of my life.
yeah.
Not real. Ethan just wouldn't say that. Or maybe he will. but it just was so over the top for
Yeah.
Ethan. And I was like, Passions fucking good. They got me. They don't get me that often anymore. But it looked like it was just what was happening.
Yeah, because they didn't even give you any inkling. It went straight from the faint to this reaction. But in
Hmm.
my head, I kept going, wait, I feel like this lasts a little longer. And I couldn't remember. And sure enough, I was like, oh, yeah.
Well, I was thinking the same thing, but I was like, okay, I'm okay with this coming out now. Like this.
Yeah,
This
me
was it was
too.
explosive. And also the way that they got me, the reason it got me is because Theresa faints and Ivy wakes her up.
Yeah.
So they
So
don't
you, yeah.
typically do it like that. So anyway, then Ivy throws water on her and she wakes up and we realize everything we just saw after the faint was fake. Um and she throws water on her and says, Theresa, get up, you slut. I don't know. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically.
Because it's
Oh,
so much. Yeah.
actually, I wrote it. She said, "Get up, you little tramp." That is
Yeah.
exactly what she said. Theresa then begs Ivy to let her explain. Ivy starts to gloat about, ha 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 ha, today
Yeah.
I'm gonna get my revenge on you, Julian
Yeah.
and Rebecca, all at once.
And she's like, "It's over, Cinderella. You will never marry the prince." So she just keeps,
Never.
yeah, yeah, she keeps going for her. This is where, again, please let me know if you wanted to say something about this, but this is where I got really upset again because Ivy, again, we talked about it. You said Ivy's very smart. We know she's very smart. She should be able to do certain things about Theresa. She's known Theresa for many, many years, and she would think this, but she goes, Theresa finally says, "This is how it happened. I went over there to do this. He got me drunk." And Ivy says, "Well, I can believe that Julian got you drunk, but I don't." What the fuck? Come on. Like, then right there is where you have a conversation. But it's what you said earlier today about her just wanting to blame it on Theresa and leave it at her, that she can't, she sees a fact in front of her and still has blinders on.
Ivy needs a scapegoat.
Yeah.
Theresa is a perfect scapegoat for her because Theresa is with Ethan, and this is a way for her to separate Ethan, and she can almost like imprint her own like everything, all the wrong that she has done onto Theresa, and basically have her be the sacrificial lamb for all of her sins. The sin
Yeah.
Theresa gonna die for Ivy's sins.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ivy needs a scapegoat. Teresa's a perfect scapegoat. She refuses, like I said, she refuses to take responsibility and accountability for all of the shit that she has done. And the way we know, I feel like a little while back it was like, okay, she was telling Sam, I know that you don't want me anymore. I've turned over a new leaf, yada yada, right? But like you said, we're about to find out that she has not turned over a new leaf. She is, in fact, just been the same leaf, and it's just gotten more rotten. And she is actually. And listen, y'all know I love Ivy. I love Ivy,
Hmm.
and I love
Same here.
Theresa.
Yeah.
They are deeply flawed.
Yeah.
Deeply flawed. And I mean, I love my parents. They too are deeply flawed, you know? So am I. We're all flawed, in our ways, but um yeah, Ivy is trying to scapegoat Theresa at the end of the day. She doesn't want to take responsibility for all of the things that she herself has done, that she put into motion, that
Yeah.
and take responsibility for the fact that this is actually and factually all her fault.
Hmm.
All her fault. If and she talks about Theresa being deceptive, manipulative. Talk about deception, bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
You really want to have a conversation around deception when you pass this man off as the crane heir for 25 years and would have kept on doing it.
Yeah. That was never going to change.
Yeah. So, and deceiving your own child, as much as you say you love him.
Yeah.
You lied to Ethan. You lied to Ethan his entire life. Theresa has only known, like, really been together with Ethan for like a year, right? So, I mean, she's been lying to him a little bit here and there. This is probably the biggest one.
You're gonna upset the Gwen fans in the list.
I don't care. They know what podcast they listening to. Listen, I am a Theresa apologist. Everybody
Yeah.
knows this. Now I will be. I feel like I have been giving her some
Well, we
pushback.
call her some spade. I'm gonna call her. I have some spades to call out right now. I'm
Yeah,
gonna call a spade a spade.
She's about to
Yes.
go fucking nuts, and I do
Yeah.
not agree with a damn thing she does next.
Thank you. Yeah. Here we go. It's
And
coming.
in fact, the one person I felt the worst for this week was Gwen. Gwen was
Hmm.
the one person I actually had the most sympathy for this week. Truly. Because she's dealing with a crazy mom. She's trying to, and she sincerely is worried about her mother, which she
Yeah.
should be. And at one point, she gets knocked down the stairs.
I can't wait when we get there.
Okay. So anyway, um, Theresa begs Ivy not to tell Ethan about the paper or about the marriage. Actually, let me make sure I'm in the right place. Oh, yes. Actually, no. I want to talk about this real quick. So, yes, Theresa tells Ivy, Julian tricked me into marrying him. He got me drunk. Ivy says, yes, knowing what a bastard Julian is, I can believe it, but I don't.
I hated that. I hated that.
And then she says, oh, maybe this was all your master plan all along to get Julian to divorce me, get me kicked out of my house so that you could have Julian all to yourself. But you see, I don't want him. If I wanted him, I would be with him. If I wanted him, I would be with him, dummy. Use your brain,
Yeah.
Ivy. Use your fucking brain. Like I said, she just wants to scapegoat Theresa. And Theresa says, I love Ethan. I would never hurt him. Yada, yada. We've heard it all before. Ivy says, that's all you have ever done, Theresa. I can't believe a word that comes out of your mouth because you are a liar. And as soon as Ethan sees this paper, he will never love you again. Again, you are a liar too. And he loves you. He loves you.
Yeah.
Okay, so then Teresa's begging Ivy not to tell Ethan. Ivy, of course, is ignoring her, heads for the door, and Theresa yells, I won't let you do this. And then she pulls like a cord from the back of the wheelchair. So she disables the wheelchair that way. And Ivy picks up the phone. She's like, oh, I'm going to call Ethan. He's going to find out about this. Teresa grabs the phone, throws it across the room.
Yeah.
And Teresa says, Julian has the annulment papers and I'm going to go sign them. And then Ethan and I are going to leave here, leave this evil house, never come back. And we're going to elope. And she says, he'll never divorce me, even if you do tell him the truth. So once we're married, that's her thinking anyway, which I think is ridiculous. I think is absurd.
Yeah.
That you think that once he finds out okay, let me keep going. Because she said, and she's at this point like baring her teeth at Ivy. It's getting vicious.
Oh, yeah. Like this is full on. Teresa is, this is all been pent up. I think the lashings that she like those verbal lashings that she got from Ivy were just way too much, and I think she snapped. I mean, there is a whole TV show called Snapped, and I think this is where Teresa just was like, I'm not losing Ethan. You can talk all the shit you want to me, but I am not losing Ethan. And I think that it was incredible to see in her eyes, in her facial expressions, all of that stuff that was going down. Because not only does she steal the cordless phone away from Ivy and throw it, but she unhooks the thing altogether, like rips it out of the wall.
She rips out the phone line. Yeah. She rips out the phone line. And then Ivy's still trying to like get out of the room to the best of her ability. And I think that's what made this so kind of like terrifying and sinister.
Yeah.
Ivy is a paraplegic in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
This girl has now disabled the wheelchair, thrown the phone across the room, ripped out the phone line, and then she goes and grabs an iron fire poker from the fireplace and wields it like a baseball bat a la Gwen.
Yeah.
And she says to Ivy, I won't let you take Ethan away from me. I won't let you take him away from me. And then she just starts beating the shit out of the wheelchair.
Now, just so you understand what tension is going on at this point, this is prior to a commercial break where it looks like Teresa's about to kill Ivy with that fire poker. When
Yeah.
they come back is when they finally let us know that she's using it to destroy the wheelchair, the motorized wheelchair, so that Ivy cannot move anywhere. But I mean, for a second, you're looking at her like, are you gonna murder
Bl-
Ivy Crane
is
or
she
Ivy
about to
Winthrop?
bludgeon Ivy to death? And yes, she's holding it. She said, "I won't let you tell Ethan." And she starts to beat the shit out of the wheelchair, flattens the tires, everything. And she says, "I'm going to go sign the annulment papers and find Ethan, and we're going to go elope, and you won't even be able to get out of this room." Oh my God.
It was a lot. It was so much so fast that it really upset me. And I love Teresa, and I mean, so it was entertaining as fuck. I loved watching it. It was so delicious. But when I look at it and we do our deep dives here, it really upset me because I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm a mama's boy. If I any of those actions,
You
you're
done.
done.
You're done. You're done. There's no way. There's no fucking world where you threatened my mama.
Yeah,
Where you know what? Where you disabled her wheelchair, and I'm like, why would you
yeah,
disable her with? I don't want anything to do with somebody who would do that to anybody, let alone
yeah,
my mother.
yeah,
And then the violence of beating the wheelchair with
yeah,
the iron poker, psychotic. No, I'm with
yeah,
you. There's no world where I find out this happened and I'm with you. Let alone the fact that she's married to Julian,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
I don't know what's going through this crazy girl's brain. I don't
Again,
know.
yeah, I was gonna say again, entertaining as fuck. As a viewer, I'm having fun and it's great and it's delicious and it's great. But if I put myself in that position and Ethan, you walk in and you see this stuff or you find out about it later, I'd be like, I'm good, I'm done. We can't come back from this.
I'm calling the police. You going to jail.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
she assaulted Ivy. She assaulted Ivy, really. And I'm sure there's other crimes that she committed in that with her. I mean, just destroying the wheelchair, that at very least is like vandalism. And
vandalism.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I'm sure it's very expensive wheelchairs, a very expensive wheelchair. So I mean, it's
yeah,
probably like, it escalates the charge depending on how much
yeah,
the property that you
yeah.
damaged is. So at the very least, Ivy could have her arrested for that. So
But again, am
anyway,
I loving unhinged Teresa? Yes, I am loving unhinged Teresa. Like to watch it, it's fun. It's
wild,
crazy.
wild. This girl is
Lovable
wild.
lunatic. Lunatic lunatic.
Yeah, it's given not so lovable lunatic. It actually, I'm not loving this. I like the scheming and the big eyes and the
But
tears and the wild
yeah,
emotional journeys that she takes me on. The violence is not, I don't love so much.
yeah.
But yes, I still love Teresa, y'all, but this a
But
lot.
this
And I will say it had me thinking, yo, because I am watching this with a grown-up brain now,
mhm.
right? And I wasn't watching it with a grown-up brain before. And this is a perfect case study in why children shouldn't be allowed to make certain decisions. Because I was watching this and I thought, like, yeah, get
Well,
Ivy. Like,
it's
no.
very yeah, it does influence you. Um Seeing Teresa do this, first of all, just this is a landmark moment. This our original Teresa will never come back from this. Like
Nope.
this is the big change because
This is the turning
Teresa
point.
becomes Mama, I'm a big girl now. Like she is going to evolve and become she's still a good person in there. Like the intentions are always motivated by goodness, but here she's like, you know what? In order to, it's kind of like Kay. In order to get to the good, I'm gonna have to do some bad, and in order to defend myself, I'm gonna do whatever I have to defend myself. So, as our guest medium from last episode predicted, with that devil card from the tarot card reading, Teresa is going to metamorphosize into a new Teresa 2.0.
Yeah, yeah. She's growing up. She's made her choice. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. At this point, just
That's
come clean.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is that when I get frustrated about this, it's like to me, the writers have been writing for years at this point about who Teresa is, and they made her snap so fast. Where I'm like, but again, if I was getting yelled at like that, and Teresa has kept her mouth shut, like tried to do the polite route, it's just like Kay saying, "Good did nothing for me." Teresa basically has the same epiphany is that she's like, you know what? I'm not going to let you stand between me and my man. And, hell hath no fury like her at this point.
But it's so interesting because this girl is always talking about fate. Is this not
Yeah.
fate? You see what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like what everything else is fate until it's not in your favor.
Particularly about Ethan. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, all
Because,
right.
yeah. Well, that was good.
Let's power on. Let's power. There's still plenty
Let's
more to
power
talk about
on
here.
because there's no power in Ivy's wheelchair. So
No, she does not have a she in fact does not have a power wheel. So
she
Teresa
destroys it.
she
It's
destroys it.
obliterated.
Teresa goes, slams the door behind her, and then these two women yell at each other through the door for like a while. For a while, Teresa yells, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Crane, but I cannot lose Ethan. I can't." And then Ivy yells back, "I may be stuck in this wheelchair, but I will have my revenge. You are dreaming, Teresa, if you she says, "You are dreaming, Teresa. You have met your match in me. And
And
damn you,
I
Teresa, you will not get away with this." And Teresa finally leaves after some back and forth.
and I think it's important to say one thing here before the door closed. She made it very clear, and Teresa was mad, full rage mad. She says
Mm.
this. She Ivy goes, "I will tell him everything," and to which Teresa goes, "It doesn't matter because we're going to run away and we're going to elope and we're going to get married. And once we are married, he has told me he will not divorce me." And
Yeah.
that is what really terrifies Ivy. So once the door closes, that is what Ivy's like. Because she, even on the other side of the door, she says, "He and I will be husband and wife tonight." And that is what gets Ivy to like throw her off of her wheelchair. And she's like, "I'm not done fighting."
Yeah, Ivy manages to like shake, 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 and throw herself off of her wheelchair. She starts climbing to the door, like crawling to the door, pulling herself to the door. And at this point, Pilar comes in. Oh my god. This was
This,
great though. It
yes,
was
it
great.
was. But I had to dissect this, and it was only lasted like maybe 6 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, and I was like dissecting the hell out of this because Pilar comes in and sees an exhausted Ivy on the floor.
And what have I been telling you about Pilar and Ivy's friendship?
I know, and I'm got really mad here too.
I have been telling y'all Ivy does not Ivy, at the end of the day, she does think of Pilar as a friend, but only she also thinks of her as an employee, a housekeeper.
Now,
They don't have a mutual relationship. So Ivy falls over. Pilar comes in. She's like, "Oh my God, Mrs. Crane, let me help you up. What's going on?" And then Ivy tells her that Teresa and Julian got married. It shows her the marriage certificate, and then Pilar doesn't have a real reaction, and that's when Ivy goes, you knew, and you didn't tell me." Fair enough. That's a fair enough reaction. Okay, I'm
yeah,
still
because
with Ivy on this.
and again, because this is all new to her, Pilar has had a long time to. I mean, first of all, let us not forget Pilar's freak out when she first found out about it, and how long. I mean, like she's tried to kill Julian many, many times since then, but like the idea that she's just catching up. Ivy is just getting there, and for her to see her confidant stand there and know that. But I'm like, that's her mom. I'm like, you are doing everything for Ethan, so like, just I don't know. Her fury is so much, but when she calls Teresa a lying tramp of she says,
Oh,
"No,
yeah. She
yeah,
says, "Don't you dare try to save your lying tramp of a daughter."
I mean, I know that she was on the floor and she is not doing well. We've been friends for years, but Pollard is known to slap
Suck a
anybody and
hoe.
everybody. Yeah, and I'm shocked that she just didn't beat her right there.
Well, she says, "Don't you dare try to help your lying tramp of a daughter." And then Ivy says, "Help me, Pilar. Help me get downstairs. I have to save my son from making the biggest mistake of his life." Pilar pulls back, hands up. Nah, I can't help you with this one, Mrs. Crane. she,
That
oh, this was so good.
I
Be-
yeah, I just wrote good for Pilar.
I don't know. I'm sincerely conflicted on this, but I don't mind it. I'm gonna say
And
that.
I have another confliction as well. So please know that I'm right there with you. That's what I'm saying. It's this whole all of in Ivy's bedroom. I have had so many mixed emotions throughout this entire week, and we'll
Bec-
talk about it. But yeah,
because at first when Ivy says, "Help me, Pilar, help me up," and Pilar's helping her, and she says, "I have to save my son from making the biggest mistake of my life,"
and
and
again,
then
there's genuine concern from Pilar about Ivy being on the
uh,
floor. Like my friend's on the floor. Oh shit! Or
mhm.
you know, whatever it is, my employee is on the floor. But it really is. Oh my God, Ivy, are you okay?
And she pulls back, and I went, "Ooh, Ivy." I mean, I went, "Ooh, Pilar. Wait a minute, Pilar. Wait a minute, girl." But then Ivy says to her, very viciously, I
Oh, I
might
hated
add,
this. Yep, get her,
she
get her.
says, "I sign your paychecks. You owe me some loyalty." Oh, and that's where I was like, "Nah, you know what?
No,
I'm with Pilar. Hands up. I'm off. I'm
no.
not doing this with you." Pilar says, "My loyalty first and foremost is to my family, and that includes my daughter." And Ivy looks at her and says, "Pilar, you're not going to help me?" And Pilar says, "I'm afraid not."
And
That's
again,
right.
that's where I was with Pilar full heartedly. Like, come on, that's horrible.
And then
This is where I
Pilar,
freaked out. Yeah.
this is where things took another turn where I was like, "Pilar, what are you doing?" Because you could just
Yep.
let Ivy lay there. She grabs Ivy by her ankles, starts to drag her. I mean, this woman is a paraplegic whom we've been told is like it's in a precarious state with her spine. It might get better, it might not if she does
Yeah.
too much. Pulls her by her ankles across the room. Ivy's screaming, "Ow, ow, my back, my legs, ow!" And then she passes out. And
I
then
was shocked by this. I just wanted to say, I was like, what was she going to do? So she passes out, and Pilar freaks out. But I'm like, what was Pilar's intentions?
I
I
don't know.
don't
I was
know.
wondering. I thought maybe she was going to try and get her back into her
That's what
chair
I assumed. I
or
assumed
into
that
the
she.
bed.
Yes, that's what my assumption, because it happened so fast and Pilar's so pissed, they made it look like I'm dragging the dead body somewhere
And
else.
it looked like she was
Whereas,
trying to drag her away from the door, maybe.
yeah, but my assumption is it was going to be like, I'm not going to let you do that, but I will help you get into your chair. I'll help you get into the bed. But for a second there, you're like, ooh, what is Pilar going to do here?
Well, Ivy passes out, and then Pilar starts to kind of panic. She's like, "Oh my goodness, I have to call. I have to
Dr.
get somebody
Russell.
to call Dr. Russell." She tries to call, but of course, Teresa has ripped out the phone lines in here, so
Yeah.
she leaves to go call from somewhere
Yeah.
else.
So
And
I
Ivy
wrote
wakes
this.
up.
Yeah, I wrote this down. Pilar calls Dr. Russell so she can give her a sedative to sedate you for your fainting spell. That's what I wrote.
That she's good at the sedation. So
But it was a
Ivy,
fake out.
yeah, Ivy wakes up. She was like faking like she had passed out to get Pilar to leave. Fair enough. Fair enough. Meanwhile, Teresa runs down the stairs while Rebecca and Gwen are going down the stairs. And Rebecca is like having her wedding march down the
Yeah.
stairs, like she's about to go down the aisle. And
Which,
Teresa just bowls them over. Doesn't it? Like, I don't know. This girl,
well,
I guess she's just blacked out tunnel
yeah.
vision.
Well,
She
here's,
knocks Gwen over. Go ahead.
yeah. And she falls down the stairs. There are two things about this. One, I do not want to forget this because it's hysterical. What we thought was Fiddler on the Roof type orchestration music for Timmy's little bit is actual music that the band is playing for the wedding, to which it's just so farcical at this point. I just wanted to point it out because it's very funny that
Well, Gwen
Rebecca,
says, yeah, Gwen
yeah,
says, like, did you tell the band to play this? Why are they
Yeah,
playing this?
Rebecca's like, I mean, I love the musical, but I don't really think it's appropriate for a wedding. And so that's one thing. The second thing is, let us know how powerful Teresa is. And what I'm saying by that is, if she can knock down Norma of all people, Teresa can knock down Gwen, and Gwen falls down those stairs
Yeah.
like a piece of trash, just like falls so fast. So those were the two things that I was like, whoa, this is so much.
Yeah, she rolls down the stairs and Rebecca gets very upset and starts beating Teresa with her bouquet. How dare you hurt my baby? How dare you? And she's
Which
grabbing
again
her.
annoyed me because I'm like, Teresa, kick her ass. I mean, at this
Teresa's
point,
trying to get away from her. She's holding. I will say she is holding Teresa and hitting her with the bouquet.
yes. And it was annoying. Yeah, it's frustrating.
And Teresa is trying to get away. Harper notices what's going on. He's like, "Oh, Julian, you better get over there and do your Harper impression."
Oh, you better go stop the second Mrs. Crane. No, you better stop the third Mrs. Crane from beating up the second Mrs. Crane.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
yeah.
Your next wife from beating up your current wife.
There it
something like
was.
that.
There it was.
And so Julian goes over, breaks it up, and Harper tries to get Teresa to sign those papers. He's like, Teresa, I have the papers for you. And she says, I don't have the time. There's no time. I have to find Ethan. And runs off. Baby girl, the annulment is step one. The annulment is step one. You can sign it right there on his back. You can
And I think
turn
in
it.
her head, she thinks Ivy's right behind her. I think she thinks.
How could she possibly
I
be
know
right behind her?
you locked her in a room. Well, you didn't lock her in the room, but you did everything possible to stop her from leaving that room.
She's a paraplegic whose wheelchair has been destroyed. Now, I get if she was worried that Ethan might get back to Ivy before she was able to get to Ethan. But it takes 5 seconds to sign a document. Sign the document, babe, and then go find Ethan. Period. Because once you find Ethan, you can't sign the annulment papers, which she doesn't. By the way, everybody, of course she doesn't. She does finally find Ethan. Rebecca and Julian start their walk down the aisle, Rebecca's shocked by the miniature rabbi. She calls him a miniature rabbi, whatever. Teresa finally finds Ethan and she tries to get him to leave with her, but then Harper stops her saying, Teresa, I need you to sign these papers. And Ethan's like, what papers? What papers does Harper need you to sign, Teresa? And Julian takes the papers from Ethan. I'm sorry, Julian takes the papers and Ethan grabs him saying, what's going on between you and my fiance? So Julian has the papers. Ethan grabs Julian and says, what's going on between you and my fiance? Meanwhile, Ivy has crawled her way down the hallway, is at the top of the staircase looking down on the scene. But we shall see.
Holding on to the stills. She holds on to the stills like Julia Sugarbaker from Designing Women. And she's like, now I will have my revenge.
Yeah.
And that's how it ends.
It's crazy. It was a good
This
week.
was an absolute roller coaster. All of that stuff was just, and to me, this is again, just like Ethan's paternity, this is peak Passions.
Yeah.
This is.
Oh, yeah. And we're doing, this is the turn. This is the turning point for Teresa for sure. Yeah, I'm interested to see how they get out of this little moment. Yeah, I'm interested. I might have to watch some tonight because I'm very interested to see what the hell's coming next. So
I will say my tea leaves have told me we're still gonna be here for a good long while because that's what we do here on Harmony.
If I remember correctly, everything starts to come out in like pieces. It's like segmented.
Baby steps.
Yeah, it's all very annoying. Well, that's the episode, everybody. Where can everybody find you, Eric, online?
I'm Mr. Eric Vera on everything, and it was a roller coaster of a week, and it was fun. I really had a blast rewatching these, and I've seen them just fresh, and I watched them again, and I was like, oh yeah, there's so much juice here. It was a good week.
Yeah. I'm excited to see you again next week, right?
Yeah,
we'll see you
of
again
course.
next week for Passions. All right. So everybody, remember you can catch me on all the social medias. Just check the link tree and Sign up for the Patreon, buy some merch. We've been having some nice discussions on the Discord, so you can
I
sign up for the
saw, yeah, that was a
yeah.
that I was reading some of them and I love them because half of them were spoilers. And so because but we in this community know them, but it was cool to click on them and see what the reveals were.
Yeah, yeah, you don't have to see the spoilers, but somebody will put it there that you know it's
Yeah,
covered up, and if you click on it, you can see it. So, which is a cool thing I didn't know you could do
it's
until
so
like
cool.
a
Yeah.
month ago. But anyway, yes, thank you all for listening. That's it. That's the show. You are my passion for life.